This program is brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only. Mosaic, a daily news program from Link TV, presents a selection of news reports from independent and state-controlled broadcasters from throughout the Middle East.
A car bomb blast in Iraq has killed more than 20 people. The explosion in a busy bus station in Baghdad wounded dozens of others. And another bomb in southern Iraq has killed 3 British soldiers. The latest bloodshed coincides with a new report to the US Congress which says that Iraqi forces are nowhere near ready to take over security. Sebastian Walker has the latest.
Baghdad's latest act of carnage. A car bomb explosion at a bus station brings horror to the morning rush hour. A smoking crater marks the site of the blast. Police said up to 40 vehicles were incinerated. As the wounded are rushed to hospital, rescuers pull more victims from the wreckage. But for some, it's already too late. Officials say the death toll is still rising. Bus terminals, marketplaces, anywhere where civilians gather are frequent targets for the bombers. But Iraqi authorities seem powerless to stop it. And this attack came just hours after a damning report on US failures to help. The US House of Representatives Armed Services Committee has told Congress a total of $19 billion has been spent on training Iraqi security forces. It said nearly 350,000 soldiers and police officers have been given training and equipment. But they are still not capable of taking on security for the country, the report said. In fact, it went on to say there's now evidence that some US-trained forces are involved in illegal activity, with weapons and personnel going missing. The US and its allies are having a hard enough time battling fighters from Iraq's various armed groups. 3 British soldiers were killed in Basra early on Thursday. So the news that time and money's been wasted in the effort of training Iraqi forces to replace US troops is the last thing Washington will want to hear. Sebastian Walker, Al Jazeera.
طلب قائد الجيش التركي الجنرال ياشار بيوكانيت الحكومة التركية باتخاذ
The Turkish Chief of Staff, General Yasar Biyokanit, demanded that the Turkish government authorize a military operation inside the Iraqi borders to pursue the armed fighters of the Kurdistan Workers' Party. Biyokanit said that these fighters are using bases in Iraq to launch attacks against Turkey. During a press conference, he demanded that the government give him the green light to launch a limited military operation inside Iraq. He said that there is nothing else he can do if the Kurdish armed forces continue to attack the Turkish army. However, the Turkish government considers the military option a last resort.
ما يريده الجيش التركي هو قرار حكومي بعملية عسكرية عبر الحدود.
The Turkish army wants the government to authorize a military operation across the southeastern borders of the country to eliminate the Kurdistan Workers' Party's fighters in Iraq, or at least deliver them a painful blow. The Turkish authorities have accused them of using military bases in northern Iraq to launch attacks in Turkey. In a televised news conference in the southeastern town of Agadir, the Turkish Chief of Staff, General Yasar Biyokanit, said that he had told the government that a military operation across the Iraqi borders would be useful and that he still stands by his opinion.
It will be very useful. I cannot say that we will be able to finish off the Kurdistan Workers' Party, but a cross-border operation will deliver a big blow to this organization. We need a political directive from the government for such an operation.
The United States opposes a military operation against its Kurdish allies in northern Iraq. Ankara had accused Kurdish factions in Iraq of supporting the Kurdish rebels, and the Turkish general Biokanit, said that these factions may also be targeted in a similar military operation. Since April, the Turkish army has been demanding that the government authorize a cross-the-border military operation to eliminate the Kurdistan Workers' Party's military bases in northern Iraq. However, the Turkish government has been leaning towards the diplomatic option in cooperation with Baghdad and Washington. According to the Turkish army, about 3,000 Kurdish fighters are based in northern Iraq. Since the beginning of this year, 64 Turkish soldiers have been killed in military operations launched by the Kurdistan Workers' Party. During the 1990s, the Turkish army carried out 20 incursions into northern Iraq, but since the invasion of Iraq, they have only launched one limited incursion to pursue armed Kurdish fighters.
The Saudi monarch held talks in Amman with the King of Jordan, Abdullah II, upon which the two kings warned of the dangerous repercussions of the events in Gaza, affirming that internal division does not serve the Palestinian national cause and the establishment of an independent state. The monarch's visit was hailed as historic, reflecting the development in the two countries' relationship. More on this story with Salwa Sawalqa in Amman.
The warm welcome surrounding the historic visit of the Saudi monarch King Abdullah bin Abdulaziz to Amman reflected the development in the relationship between the two countries on both the political and economic levels. The talks between the Saudi monarch and the King of Jordan, Abdullah II, focused on regional concerns, particularly Palestine and Iraq, whose state of affairs affects both countries because of geographic proximity, size, and a shared sense of duty and responsibility. Riyadh and Amman's participation in the four-way summit also enhanced the accord and coordination between them.
We welcome this visit and look forward to its fruitful outcomes, especially concerning the region, political dialogue, and bilateral relations on all levels.
Jordan wants to convey the message that it greatly appreciates the political weight of Saudi Arabia in the region. In other words, Jordan is intent on highlighting the political weight of Saudi Arabia, which is evident in the King's address to the U.S. Congress, in which he pointed to and praised the Saudi King for his efforts, as well as for confronting Iran in the region.
In addition to the ceremony and protocol, this first visit of the Saudi monarch to Jordan was met with a warm public welcome, seldom expressed to other visitors to the Hashemite kingdom. The shared regional concerns of Jordan and Saudi Arabia and their similar visions towards resolving the problems of the area make the two countries important partners in an area with increasingly complicated problems and heated ramifications.
أفاد مراسل الجزيرة في كابول نقلا عن مصادر في طالبان بأن أمريكيا
Al Jazeera correspondent in Kabul quoted a Taliban spokesman saying that an American and a Nepali were killed and that 3 others were injured in a suicide attack in Bakrami town near Kabul. The attack targeted a private American security company called Global. Joining us, our correspondent in Afghanistan, Ahmed Barakat. Ahmed, what are the reactions of the government towards today's suicide attack?
نعم في الحقيقة قبل حوالي ساعة من الآن كنا عند رئيس
About 1 hour ago, the head of the investigation team in Kabul, Ali Shahbek, told us that it is very difficult to stop such operations, but he said that they are trying their best. He also said that they have arrested a number of would-be suicide bombers. He added that an American and a Nepali were killed in this operation and that 3 Americans and 2 Afghans were injured. A 27-year-old suicide bomber named Fadlullah drove his red Corolla vehicle into a convoy of security vehicles as they were coming from the Aboy-Shersky prison. This private security company will be responsible for the Aboy-Shersky prison to receive Guantanamo Bay's prisoners as soon as they complete building the prison's sleeping quarters. Fadlullah drove his car into the convoy and exploded himself, completely destroying an armored vehicle. The powerful explosion pushed it completely away from the street and damaged another car. These were some of the details about the incident. Of course, the government condemned this operation and said it was a cowardly act, just like it has always done in the past. One Taliban commander called Abdul Baqi said that they will carry out more operations. Another spokesman called Zabih al-Mujahid said that 4 Americans were killed, but the Afghan government confirmed that only 2 were killed in addition to the suicide bomber. More details in the following report, which we prepared from the site of the incident.
أنهم 2 فقط إضافة إلى الانتحاري. لمزيد من التفاصيل كنا قد أعددنا من موقع الحدث هذا التقرير.
The Taliban claimed responsibility for a new suicide operation which killed and injured a number of people, mainly foreigners. This time, a suicide bomber drove his car into a convoy of vehicles belonging to a private American security company near Kabul. The American forces surrounded the area and all security agencies were put on high alert. Media agencies, in general, were prevented from reaching the site of the incident. Eyewitnesses said that the explosion was huge and that the Americans reacted to it by shooting randomly, thus injuring a number of civilians.
There was a strong explosion, and I saw a number of killed and injured people on the ground. I think that they were Americans. Then I heard gunfire. This is what I saw with my own eyes.
The head of the investigation team in Kabul acknowledged that it is difficult to stop such operations.
We try to stop these operations. We have foiled a lot of them and arrested a lot of would-be suicide bombers, but we can't completely stop them.
The Taliban wanted to deliver a message that it is still present and that it is still capable of carrying out suicide operations. Some believed that the Taliban had suffered a setback by the killing of its military commander, Dadullah, and that it was the reason behind the decrease of its military operations. However, the Taliban stressed that it will continue its path and that it will not be impacted by losing its military commander.
We will not compromise with those who occupy our country. The killing of our military commander, Mullah Dadullah, does not mean that we have become weak. Every Muslim in Afghanistan is a mujahid, and he will follow the path of Dadullah.
This new operation came after suicide operations had stopped for a while in Kabul. The last suicide operation had targeted a police vehicle in the heart of Kabul, killing and injuring dozens of people. Ahmed Barakat, Al Jazeera, Bagrami, east of Kabul. The Lebanese army announced that 6 members of the Fateh al-Islam were killed during an exchange of fire in the town of Kalamoun, south of Tripoli in northern Lebanon. An Arabiya correspondent reported that the army surrounded and clashed with these armed fighters in a cave in the town's wooded area. One army soldier was injured.
They went to Kalamoun, but not for a visit or a summer vacation. Rather, the Lebanese army has been conducting a security pursuit operation for Fateh al-Islam members. The clashes occurred during the night. There are different accounts about this group and how it was able to hide out in these areas.
Yes, 5 Fateh al-Islam members were killed. There were also a group of 6 people who were hiding in the mountains. They came here in a GMC truck at the very beginning when the first battle with the army took place. We told the army that they were here.
Another version of the story says that this group hid out in these valleys after many army soldiers were killed at the start of the events.
الحقيقة في ساعات الصباح الأولى بحدود الساعة 2:30 فجراً
Actually, early in the morning at 2 a.m., we witnessed some army movements. We asked what was going on. They told us that there is a combing operation that was to take place in the mountain areas, above Kalmun and below Dida, in those mountainous areas. After a while, we heard the sound of gunfire. After monitoring the situation, we learned that there was a group of armed men who may have been present in that area. In the early morning hours, the army received some reinforcements and the helicopters arrived. After a while, we were informed that, thank God, the army had taken complete control of the mountain areas where the armed fighters were located.
The official version of events will remain unknown as long as military operations are ongoing in search of an injured person who was able to escape. It is said that he is a Saudi citizen. What has been confirmed until now is that 6 people from the group, most of whom were Arabs, were killed and 1 Lebanese army soldier was injured. This confirms the latest version of events and the monitoring of this group, which took shelter in the terrain of this rocky mountain, using its caves as safe havens throughout the events of the Nar al-Bared refugee camp. Rather than a tourist map, the security incidents in Tripoli have drawn up a new map for this city. From the north, Nar al-Bared refugee camp. From the south, Kalamun. In the center of Tripoli, the Abu Samra neighborhood and other incidents. The hope is that these latest events will be the last. From Kalamun, Riyadh Nasiri, Al-Arabiya, North Lebanon. The tourism sector is making an appeal for aid after being hit hard during the summer season.
We have fallen to the ground. We're breathing our last breath. Of course, we're not talking about a battle at the Nar al-Bared refugee camp. Rather, we are reporting on what we heard from some members of the tourism sector who are battling against a political crisis which is affecting the tourism industry. This scene of empty chairs at this restaurant represents the reality and the voice of the tourism industry. The outcry by the owners was reflected by the lack of customers. This, in turn, affects the salaries of many employees who are experiencing instability. They are unable to find work this season and have lost their livelihood. What are restaurant and hotel owners saying about the current conditions in comparison to previous years?
This is the worst season we have experienced. In previous years, we would hire more workers, especially during this time. We'd always be busy. We did not have the time to even scratch our heads, as they say. There was a lot of work and pressure on us. But like you see now, there is no work. We're just sitting around. The employees who have worked for the hotel for a long time are being laid off. The hotel owner has allowed us to stay, but there are no outside visitors. We rely mostly on people from the outside.
Due to the continued decline in the tourism sector, the Tourism Guild in Beirut, which includes owners of hotels, restaurants, amusement parks, travel agencies, and car rental companies, decided to meet on Thursday, June 28th, to advance their case.
Any institution that does not cooperate will be considered delivering a blow to the tourism sector. Many hotel owners called me to tell me that they are closing down. Restaurant owners contacted me and they are closing down. We do not want to be hurt like we were after the war. We need customers for our hotels because hotel owners cannot pay their employee salaries. They will have to withhold salaries. A resistance fighter is not just someone who carries a weapon and stands on the borders to fight against the enemy. We are the firm resistance fighters. We are the ones in the economic sector. If there is no economy, there is no state.
The members of the tourism sector are requesting that the state waive their fees and taxes, including electricity and water, until the end of 2007.
The summer season has begun. People are flooding to beaches along the Lebanese coastline to sunbathe, swim and relax. While sea pollution remains an important environmental concern in Lebanon, the Lebanese people do not seem to care much. Watch this report. It is an atmosphere of joy and recreation at the La Guava Beach Resort south of Beirut. At this trendy place, people, young and old, are enjoying a beautiful summer's day.
They are sunbathing, swimming, eating, dancing at the bar, and relaxing. A scene not uncommon in Lebanon, a country known for its beautiful summer season. However, watching the Lebanese people swim in the sea raises a major question. Are they not afraid of the pollution which resulted from the oil spill of last year's bombing of the Jazeera power plant? Fateh, general manager of the La Guava resort, explains why there shouldn't be such fear.
Actually, we weren't affected by the sea pollution. We were lucky, unfortunately, what happened in Lebanon. We were lucky that it didn't affect our coast because of the wind. It was like from south-west, so all the pollution went to the north of GE. Our coast is still very clean, and we contact some official people to guarantee for us that no pollution affecting in general in Lebanon and especially our coast. You can see a lot of people swimming on the beach.
People just want to enjoy the summer season. They are convinced that the sea, especially in the southern part of Beirut, is cleaner than other areas.
The region where we are is to the south of the area that was hit by missiles and stuff, so it's a clean beach over here. So I'm not afraid, no.
Do you go to other areas? Do you go to the north?
I went to the north. I didn't go much to the beach. I didn't swim in the beach itself, but they did what they had to do. They cleaned the oil that comes to the surface and stuff. I mean, they did what they had to do. We have to encourage them somehow. We shouldn't stop going there, even if it's not their fault that it's polluted, right?
You're not afraid of the pollution of last year's oil spill from the war?
Not really. What can we do?
So if the sea is polluted, you just go?
We need to have fun. What are we going to do?
Oh, perfect. That's
we can't go out. You know the situation in the whole country. So it's safe here.
So do you go to?
Maybe we will die, but slowly. Not.
I always swim in the sea. They say there's pollution, but I did not find any here. Why should I worry? Everything is fine. Not much has really changed since previous years. It is the same cool atmosphere. It is the faith in life and a better future that keeps the Lebanese people living and willing to live.
In other news today, 5 Israeli soldiers, including an officer, were wounded during ongoing operations in the town of Nablus. Troops have placed a closure on the city as they search for wanted terrorists in the West Bank city. And in Gaza, Israel rejected an offer by Hamas to open border crossings in exchange for a halt in terror attacks at the sites. IBA's Leah Stern has more on that story.
IDF troops clashed with Palestinian militants during continuing operations in Nablus today. An IDF captain was moderately wounded when Palestinians threw an explosive device at him. He was evacuated to Sheba Medical Center in Tel HaShomer for treatment. A second bomb left one soldier in serious condition and at least 4 others wounded, 2 of them moderately. The 4 were evacuated to Beilinson Hospital in Petah Tikva. The injured soldiers were part of a large infantry force operating in Nablus's old city and a local refugee camp. The troops combed alleyways and raided local houses, searching for wanted terrorists, weapons, and ammunition. More than a dozen Palestinians, including 8 gunmen, as well as a 12-year-old boy, have been killed since the action began. A curfew is now in effect in downtown Nablus. The IDF has also interrupted broadcasts on the city's radio and TV stations. Instead, local residents are receiving warnings not to leave their homes. And in Gaza, residents took to the streets of Khan Yunis today to survey the damage left behind by a major IDF operation in their southern Gaza town over the week. The operation, which began Tuesday, caused serious damage to several apartment buildings and even local greenhouses. The IDF arrested dozens of Palestinians, many of whom were on Israel's most wanted list. Israel today rejected an offer made by deposed PA Prime Minister Ismail Haniyeh, promising an end to terror attacks at border crossings into Gaza if Israel reopened them to traffic. A high-ranking Hamas official asked Israel to open the crossings, Erez in particular, during secret talks. But Israeli defense officials have said that the offer is not practical and that Israel does not intend to negotiate with Hamas or strengthen their government in the Gaza Strip. This is Leah Stern for IBA News.
Former British Prime Minister Tony Blair faces a daunting challenge as he takes up his new role as Middle East envoy for the International Peace Quartet. The 54-year-old Blair will have to overcome Arab skepticism for his role in Iraq as he seeks to mobilize international assistance to the Palestinians. Blair's selection was welcomed by the Palestinian Authority and Israel, but condemned by Hamas.
I think we need help as far as institution building, as far as economic development, as far as infrastructure development, as far as building an accountable, good government. We need help. So the idea of appointing an envoy for the quartet is an excellent idea, and we welcome it.
I think that Tony Blair has a strong personality which might help him in winning the Arab support, but it's also very slim.
We expect that Tony Blair will not be a good man in this position because according to our experience in the time he was Prime Minister of Britain, that he was not honest and was not helpful in solving the conflict in the Middle East, and all the time he adopted the American and the Israeli position.
The year-long sex scandal involving President Moshe Katsav came to a head once again today. This after a plea bargain agreement was reached between Katsav's lawyers and the Attorney General, which was met with outrage among women's groups, legal experts, government watchdogs, and many Knesset members. Abiyaz Eliwalagalanter has the story.
Attorney General Menachem Azuz announced at a news conference this morning that Katsav had signed a plea bargain agreement reached between his lawyers and the prosecution. Under the agreement, the president will neither serve jail time nor carry out community service. Instead, Katsav's punishment will include a suspended sentence, and he'll be forced to pay financial compensation to his victims. His lawyer, Tzion Amir, said he was pleased with the Attorney General's decision.
The whole indictment, the original indictment was erased, was cancelled. The great majority of the accusations are not existing anymore. What remains is a very minor and little deeds that the president took responsibility on it.
Until now, the draft indictment included 2 counts of rape, both involving the woman known as the Second A, who worked for Katsav when he served as Minister of Tourism. Mazuz said new evidence that was presented by Katsav's attorneys at a hearing in May changed the nature of the charges. They will now be downgraded to committing an indecent act with force, an attempt to kiss the plaintiff. Katsav will also be charged with sexually harassing the First A, who worked in the president's official residence, and harassing one of her witnesses. The announcement of the plea bargain agreement was met with outrage by the complainants, women's groups, and many legal experts. I object to this deal, said complainant A. This decision is surprising and outrageous, particularly in light of the fact that the case is solid and the evidence is good. I am frustrated by the decision. Women's groups were also incensed by the decision.
Basically, it gives a message to women that were raped or attacked or sexually assaulted by men that are in positions of power, that it's better for them to just sit home and be quiet and not tell anybody about it because it's not worth it for them to actually even file a complaint in the police.
Katsav will step down as president within 48 hours instead of July 15th as scheduled, and an indictment including charges of committing an indecent act, sexual harassment, and harassing a witness will be filed against him on Sunday in the Jerusalem Magistrates Court. Eli Wogelanter, IBA News.
The views expressed on Mosaic are those of the participating broadcasters, not Link TV or its sponsors. Please visit linktv.org/Mosaic for more information about these broadcasters or to view previous Mosaic programs, obtain program transcripts, or receive the weekly Mosaic Intelligence Report. Mosaic is made possible by a grant from the William and Flora Hewlett Foundation. Additional support is provided by the Firedoll Foundation, the Otto Haas Charitable Trust, and by committed Link TV viewers like you. If you value this program, please send your tax-deductible contribution to Link TV, either through the website or the mailing address listed on your screen. This program was brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only. Link TV is the only U.S. television network devoted to global and national news, with uncompromising documentaries and diverse cultural programs. Programs which connect you to the world.